Welcome. This is the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast, and I'm the Common Constitutionalist coming at you from frozen New England. Egad, it's cold up here. I think last weekend it was like 65 degrees, and today it's 14 with the wind chill factor of negative who knows what. But it's flippin' miserable up here. So anyway, can't wait for spring. And I am, I'm exhausted. I'm not going to tell my son that, but I'm exhausted. So don't tell my son. We went rock climbing for 2 or 3 hours today. Just got back and sitting down to do the podcast. And man, I'll tell you what, brother. If you've never been rock climbing, it's a lot of fun. But man, is it a lot of work. Great time though. Good time. So anywho, enough about me. Let's get to it, shall we? Couple of topics on the plate today. One from IBD, one from our buddies at the Daily Mail. The first one is this whole thing about Jeff Sessions. This thing is a complete and utter disaster. The Trump campaign needs to get in front of this thing. And frankly, everybody in the Trump campaign, as well as all their surrogates, basically they need to tell Chuck Schumer to take a flying leap. So we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about Ivanka Trump. Not my favorite person, and we'll discuss that. This has to do with global warming, but it could be anything but, global warming to family leave or whatever. But at any rate, we'll talk about hopefully those two topics in detail today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
Okay, as I stated in the intro, this one's regarding Attorney General Jeff Sessions, the honorable, very honorable Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Hadn't been able to say that in a while, have we? The honorable Attorney General. You got that right, bro. That's for sure. And this comes to us from IBD. IBD writes, they write the Democratic Party, but there's nothing democratic about them. Although, actually, a pure democracy is mob rule, so I guess it is democratic. But at any rate, the Democratic Party, they write, desperate to ruin Donald Trump's presidency even before it really gets underway, thinks it has found a juicy target in Attorney General Jeff Sessions, but their claims of improper contacts between Sessions and Russian officials are laughable. And, they are laughable, but we'll get to that, evidently. This is how today's far-left Democrats work. They are right about that. Not winning on any political arguments of late. They have to be satisfied with smearing decent people trying to do a job. That would be the courtly, respected Sessions, whom Democrats loathe. Well, that's absolutely true. They hate this guy with a passion. And they're also right about not winning on any political arguments. They can't. They never have been able to. The modern-day Democrat Party can't win on the issues. They know that. That's why they never talk about the issues. They may say they want to talk about the issues, but they never do. And they can't, because issues are, when you speak about issues, you're speaking in terms of logic. And there is no logic when it comes to the Democrat Party. Democrats they're pure emotion. That's what they're driven by, pure, unfettered, knee-jerk emotion. That's what they bank on their constituency thinking the same way. They make these knee-jerk reactions. They go on emotion. Well, they don't. They plot and plan, and then they put it out there as if it's a knee-jerk reaction, as to get the proper response from their wacky, loony base. So IBD continues. Led by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, what a bag of poo this guy is. Excuse me. They don't write that. That's my editorial comment. Led by the bag of poo. No, they don't write that. That's me. The Democrats have made the wild claim that Sessions should quit simply because, well, they've accused him of something. And that's exactly right. As Rush has said many, many times for many, many years, with the Democrats, there may not be any proof at all. It doesn't make any difference. It's the seriousness of the claim. That's all they care about. They make a claim, they repeat it long enough, people start to believe that it's fact, and that's how they get the Republicans. And then the Republicans do as Republicans always do, cave. And they can't handle the fact that the Trump administration isn't just rolling over and dying on this thing. Or they bloody well better not. And this is Chuckie Schumer states that because the Department of Justice should be... Now you gotta... I'm going to try not to laugh at this statement, but you just... Okay, here we go. He says, Chuckie Schmucky Schumer says, because the Department of Justice, dig this, should be above reproach for the good of the country, Attorney General Sessions should resign. Unfreaking believable that he can stand up in front of the microphone, God and country, and say something as completely inane as that after the two attorney generals back-to-back that we've just experienced and we've had to live through for the past 8 years, Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. Two people that are so... if you looked up whatever the opposite of reproach is, there's those two people's pictures beside the dictionary definition. That's how pathetic this statement is. I'm stunned at the chutzpah that Schumer has. But hey, this is Schumer. This is what he does, man. He's a bomb thrower. Always has been, always will be. And heaven help you if you are the one that's standing between him and a camera. You're going to get yourself bowled over, brother. So look out. IBD says that the hypocrisy in this statement is clear, since it's only far-left members of Schumer's party who've reproached Sessions, and that is correct also. They don't put it quite as colorfully as I did, but you get the message. So they say, they write that, let's review the case. The allegation is that Sessions met twice with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak, once in July and again in September of 2016, but didn't report it when asked if he had met with Russian officials, ready, while serving as a Trump campaign surrogate. And his answer was no. And it should have been no, because he was asked a direct question, and he gave a direct answer to the question. He didn't add anything. He didn't detract anything. They asked him a specific question. He gave him a specific answer. Pure and simple. Honest truth. And they write, and he was right. Hey, look at that. We're right. He did, in fact, meet twice with the ambassador, but he says it was part of his job as the member of the Armed Services Committee, not as a Trump campaign adjunct. There's a big difference. And yeah, there is a big difference. These guys on the Armed Services Committee would meet with hundreds or dozens or hundreds of ambassadors every year about everything, and these guys would come in and try to advocate for their particular countries or their particular particular positions on things pertaining to defense and America. And that's the way it was. These guys are salesmen for their country. And it's probably Sergei Kislyak was the same way. As Sarah Isgur, I guess it's Isgur, I-S-G-U-R, Flores, a spokesperson for the Department of Justice, correctly said, quote, he was asked during the hearing about communications between Russia and the Trump campaign, not about meetings he took as a senator and a member of the Armed Services Committee, unquote. So even so, Sessions has agreed to recuse himself from the ongoing Democrat-driven FBI investigation of the non-story of Russian contacts with the Trump administration. And I've got a problem with that. He shouldn't be recusing himself. He did nothing wrong. This guy is a stand-up guy. He's the most stand-up guy we've had in a decade at the Justice Department. And he's got nothing to be ashamed of. He's got nothing to hide. He's not hiding anything. They asked him a question. He answered the question. And now they're winding it up and twisting it like a pretzel to try and make him out to be guilty. And then Schumer's got the gonad, excuse my French, to tell Sessions that he should resign for the good of the office and for the good of the country. Give me a freaking break. And then IBD goes ahead and editorializes, as they that is their want, because this is their politics editorial page. Let's make something clear, they write. The Democrats don't really care about Russia. You're right there. Or its potential threat to our country. If they did, they wouldn't have sat mute for 8 years under President Obama while he and Hillary Clinton vainly pushed the reset button and pursued an open policy of appeasement with Vladimir Putin. If you remember the little off-mic contact he had with Medvedev, about that he would have more latitude after his second election because he wouldn't have to answer to anybody. Yeah, there you go. You can tell Vlad the Impaler. These actions of craven, self-abased weakness only incurred Putin's contempt and encouraged him to seize the Crimea, invade Ukraine, forge a nuclear alliance with Iran, and meddle in the Middle East, all at our expense. But that was just sheer coincidence that he just happened to do that, as Obama and Hillary Clinton and the rest of the dimwits in the Obama administration, sat on their hands and did absolutely freaking nothing while Vladimir Putin ran roughshod over them, and nothing happened. And Chuckie Schumer had no problem with that. Didn't say word one. No Democrat said boo to that. Yet Sessions, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, Senate Armed Service Committee, has a couple of conversations with the Russian ambassador, and the whole world's going to melt down. Give me a freaking break, Chucky, you jerkweed. And IBD goes on to editorialize. Of course, there's a reason all this is happening, they write. Barack Obama, who has taken up residence in Washington, D.C., mainly to serve as a thorn in President Trump's side. And that's exactly what it is. He is about, if I recall correctly, I wrote or podcasted about this thing. He's like his offices in the World Wildlife Fund in downtown Washington, D.C., or wherever it is, are about, I think it's 1.1 miles from the White House. That's how close he is. And then you hear Valerie Jarrett, I'll just hold my tongue on Valerie Jarrett. Yee, she gives me the willies. She's a dangerous individual. We'll leave it at that. She's moved into the Obama's house. Unbelievable. I wonder how Muchel likes that. I just wonder. It's just, I don't know, man. What an odd bunch. IBD goes on to write, the New York Times reveals that the Obama administration secretly tried to undermine and sabotage Trump's presidency by, as the Daily Caller put it, waging, quote, a campaign to procure, save, and disperse classified intelligence regarding Trump's associates' contacts with Russia, unquote. The idea was to selectively leak things to a friendly media. Really? A friendly media? Go figure. In part by lowering the classification level on some intelligence. And that's exactly what's happening here. We've discussed, and many others, conservative radio, TV, whatever, have discussed the shadow government that Obama's running. And this guy is all smiles and waves, and he's supposed to be really cool and aloof, and he's the coolest, and he's a dirtbag, is what he is. He doesn't want to give up power. He didn't like to be the president. This is what he wants to do. This is community agitating on steroids is what this is. And this is what he does. This is, like I've said before, you do what you know, and this is what he knows. So this is what he's going to do. And they've been plotting and planning this for months. IBD continues, and it was a coordinated effort of not just the White House, but the intelligence agencies and the State Department, according to the Times, the New York Times. Just think of that. 3 agencies of the federal government colluding to impede a new president as he takes office. Well, I'd like to say that's ridiculous and impossible, but these days, everything is so politicized, I don't even trust our intelligence agencies anymore. I would trust maybe the agents on the ground, so to speak, but these guys, the rest of these guys, are nothing but political plants in all these intelligence agencies, and they can't be counted on to do anything properly or anything above board. I'm sorry, maybe I'm jaded by this, but that's just the way it is. So since that's the case, and it certainly seems to be, IBD writes, will Schumer call for an investigation of Obama and his aides for possibly illegal interference with the operations of an incoming president? Yeah, right. How about the Benghazi disaster, or IRS targeting of conservative groups, Fast and Furious, Hillary Clinton's illegal email server, or Obama signaling to Russia that he would have, remember, more flexibility after the 2012 election? Is Schumer calling for investigations on any of these things? Heck no, not going to happen. Never. You're going to hear, if he's asked about it, you'd hear crickets. That'd be it. And then he changed the topic back to Trump. So this is just an absolute bloody mess. And as long as the Republicans try to, I would love to say they are supposed to be the daddies. They're supposed to be the reasonable, logical ones that are just supposed to plow through this stuff. But you got to call these bags of dirt out. You got to call Schumer to the carpet. You got to call him a liar. You just got to get in. Anytime anyone asks you a question about this, you just say, you know what? I'm sick of answering this stuff. It's all a bunch of crap. You find me, so you come up with some evidence that this actually occurred, real, actual, hard evidence, and we'll take a look at it. Other than that, I don't want to hear about it, and we're not going to talk about it. That's it. Next question. Period. And you just keep saying that. You keep shutting them down, and that's it, because somebody's got to get in front of this thing, or it's just going to fester, and it's going to disrupt, as it already has, the Trump administration's agenda. And that's it. Other than that, I ain't got nothing strong to say about it. Let's take a break, shall we? Yeah, I think we shall. You're listening to me, the Common Constitutionalist.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Okie dokie. All right, so this next one comes from the Daily Mail. Comes to us from our buddies my buddies, whatever, at the Daily Mail. And this is Ivanka versus Trump in the Oval Office. Trump's daughter and his top strategist clash over climate change treaty's fate. This is the Paris climate change nonsense. So the Daily Mail writes that Steve Bannon and Ivanka Trump are reportedly squabbling over the fate of America's involvement in a landmark climate change treaty as the president weighs whether he should prioritize his campaign promises over the diplomatic fallout if he backs out of the Paris agreements. Well, boo flippin' who about the diplomatic fallout to a bunch of nimrods who think that man-caused global warming actually exists to any extent at all. And last I checked, Trump said, I believe, didn't he say it in his big address to the joint session of Congress, that he is the president of the United States of America? He ain't the president of the world, and he's not a board member of the New World Order. Yeah, that's it. They write that the New York Times reported that the president's top strategist and his daughter are clashing, with Ivanka urging him, Trump, to stay the course and remain committed to the deal that President Barack Obama struck in 2015 with 193 other dim-witted countries. I added the dim-witted part. That's probably what they were thinking, though. Ha! But Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's most conservative advisor in the West Wing, is pressing him to follow through on a pledge to cancel the agreement. And I don't know about Steve Bannon. I'm not. It's one of those things where you just I don't really have any. I haven't really looked into his background, other than the Breitbart stuff and whatever. But I just I don't get the warm and fuzzy with Steve Bannon. I just don't. I'm not sure I like the guy. I don't know. Don't know him. He could be a perfectly grand individual, but he strikes me as Yeah, I don't know. I'll just let it go for now, I guess. But he's absolutely right on this thing. Donald Trump campaigned on, he's a climate change denier, like we all are. Well, at least, hopefully, we all are. And to reiterate, let's just clear the air here again and again and again. I'm not a climate change denier, and neither is anyone else on the planet. None of us fellow conservatives are climate change deniers. How can you deny the climate changing? It changes all the time. Just look at the history of the globe. The climate changes all the time. It changes slowly, but it changes all the time. So I'm not a climate change denier. And this is another one of those things where the left controls the narrative, so they control the argument, period. If you want to talk about man-caused global warming, let's talk about man-caused global warming, but it ain't climate change. And they write that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is siding with Ivanka, telling the president that following through would have dire consequences for America's credibility in future diplomatic negotiations. You know what? I sure hope the crap he didn't say that, or he isn't siding with her, because I'd just as soon throw Rex Tillerson under the bus too, frankly, for saying something as dim-witted as dire consequences for America's credibility in future diplomatic negotiations. Give me a break. America, we're supposed to be leading, not following. And you lead with man-caused climate change is a load of crap. Man-caused global warming, to any extent, is a load of poo. And we don't believe it. And if you want to negotiate with us on something, feel free. But we ain't going to negotiate about that because it's a non-starter. That's where the negotiation begins. President Donald Trump is said to be weighing the impact of following through on a campaign pledge to withdraw the U.S. from the deal. What do you mean, weighing the impact? I hope the heck this crap isn't true. Trump is expected to sign an executive order next week directing newly minted Environmental Protection Agency Chief Scott Pruitt, who is also a climate denier. Hooray for Scott Pruitt. He better not change his tune. To begin what the Times calls a lengthy legal process to unwind Obama's greenhouse gas regulations. Lengthy my Aunt Fanny. I don't actually have an Aunt Fanny, but if I did, lengthy my Aunt Fanny. Just get her done, like you promised you'd do. Once that process is complete, they write, the U.S. will no longer be in compliance with the Paris Agreement. From there, Trump could launch into a 4-year procedure to officially withdraw the U.S. And that bloody well better not take 4 freaking years. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know all the legalistic nonsense of this crap. But it seems to me that it wouldn't take 4 years to unwind. The Wall Street Journal reported this week that Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner had talked Trump out of specifically mentioning the climate treaty in the coming executive order, a decision that will keep his options open. You know, I'm just going to just stop reading this thing and I'm going to go off on this. Ivanka's got to go. She is a liberal. She is a liberal hack who is one of her good buddies is Chelsea Clinton. And I'm sorry, but I know some liberals, but I'm not good friends with any liberals. We couldn't possibly be good friends, because what would we talk about? I suppose if they were Patriots fans or football fans or something like that, we could discuss that. But what do you do? What do you do when the season's over? You have to talk about something, and this is what I do. This is what I know, other than my day job, which nobody wants to talk about because it's a bunch of technical nonsense. Politics is what I do, and it wouldn't be long before I'd get into it with even my best friends. And so a few of my friends are just football friends, and they, I know, are a little more liberal. They're, I would say, moderates, for want of a better term, just because they're, particularly when I'm around, because they know that I know this stuff, they don't spout off quite as much because they'll be shot down in short order, and I think they probably know that. So they don't speak up quite as much. They do ask my opinion on a number of things, and they sit and they listen judiciously, and that's fine. And if they want to not argue but discuss things, I'd be more than happy to do that with, frankly, anybody reasonably. But Ivanka isn't reasonable. She is a liberal. Just look at the positions that she's talking Trump into. Family leave, paid family leave, right out of the Obama-Clinton playbook. Are you kidding me? And Trump's signing on to this crap? This isn't even in the neighborhood of conservative or constitutional. Ridiculous. And now this, climate change, global warming. Give me a freaking break. She's got to, I don't know what odd relationship she's got with her father, but she's got his ear for sure. The same with Kushner. I don't doubt that they're very intelligent individuals. There are a lot of otherwise intelligent liberals that are intelligent in their vocations, but boy, when you start talking politics, that's all. They go ahead and they just spout the liberal talking points, and beyond that, they've got nothing. So if he continues down this road, if Trump continues down this road of using her and her husband, liberal husband, I guess. Well, she's probably the more liberal driving the bus here. If she continues to be a heated advisor, heated as in HEED, advisor for Trump, he's going to start going down the wrong roads, and this kind of stuff's going to backfire on him, and his base he's going to start losing his base little by little. And when that fails, when his base fails, he's done. He's cooked, and that's it. Goodbye, Trump. That's it. So he had better get on the right path and start listening to the right people. Frankly, start listening to himself. Go back and play some of the speeches of some of the campaign promises and live up to them, and stop listening to your freaking daughter. So that's about all I've got. This is the Common Constitutionalist. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Signing off, and see you.
Thank you for listening to the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast.